Hi friends! Today we have a very long and magical story about a kind princess named Snow White and her 7 little friends. Let's see what happens. Once upon a time, there was a princess named Snow White. She was the kindest person in the kingdom and loved all the animals. Snow White spent her days talking to the birds and bunnies. She was always gentle and sweet to everyone she met. But the queen was not kind. She had a magic mirror and asked it every day, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" One day, the mirror answered, "Snow White is the fairest of all." This made the queen very jealous and very mean. Snow White was scared and ran deep into the forest. She walked past large trees and over small streams, looking for a safe place. She walked for a long time until her feet were very tired. "Where will I go?" she wondered. She felt very small in the big forest. Suddenly, she saw a tiny little cottage. It looked like a doll's house. "I wonder who lives here," she whispered. She knocked on the door, but nobody answered, so she walked inside. Everything was very small and very neat. There were 7 tiny chairs and a table set for 7. Snow White was very hungry and had a tiny bite of food from each plate. After eating, she felt very sleepy. She found 7 tiny beds and fell into a deep sleep. She was safe at last. Soon, the owners of the cottage came home. They were 7 little dwarfs who worked in the mountains. They were very happy. Hi ho, it's home from work we go," they sang. They were excited to have their dinner and rest. When they walked inside, they found Snow White. "Who is this?" they whispered. They had never seen a princess before. Snow White woke up and told them her story. The dwarfs were very kind. "You can stay with us," they said with a smile. Snow White helped the dwarfs by keeping their cottage clean and cooking yummy meals for them every day. She was so happy. She sang songs while she worked, and the forest animals often came to visit her at the little cottage. Back at the castle, the queen asked her mirror again, "Mirror, mirror, who is the fairest?" The mirror showed Snow White. The queen was very angry. She disguised herself as an old peddler woman and went into the forest to find Snow White. She had a very special red apple. "One bite of this," thought the queen, "and Snow White will fall into a deep sleep." The old woman reached the cottage. "Hello, pretty girl," she called. "Would you like to try one of my yummy apples?" Snow White thought the old lady was kind. The apple looked so red and sweet that she couldn't say no. "Thank you," she said. But as soon as she took a bite, Snow White fell into a deep, deep sleep. She fell onto the floor and didn't move. "Oh no!" The queen ran away, thinking she had won. "Now I am the fairest of them all," she laughed. The dwarfs came home and were so sad to see Snow White sleeping. They couldn't wake her up, no matter how hard they tried. They built a beautiful case for her so they could always see her kind face. Even the forest animals came to say goodbye. One day, a handsome prince came through the forest. When he saw Snow White, he thought she was the most beautiful person ever. He knelt down and gave her a gentle kiss on her hand. Suddenly, the magic began to fade. Snow White woke up. She was so happy to see the prince and all her dwarf friends. "Hooray!" everyone shouted. "Will you come to my castle and be my friend forever?" asked the prince. "I would love to," clucked Snow White. They had a grand wedding at the castle. Everyone in the kingdom was invited, and they had a wonderful celebration. Snow White and the prince lived very happily together. They were always kind and fair to everyone in the kingdom. She never forgot her dwarf friends and often went to visit them in the forest. Kindness truly is the most beautiful thing of all. So you see, friends, being kind and having a good heart is what makes someone truly special. It's what's inside that counts. Always be a good friend and help those who need it. When we are kind, we can all have happy endings together. What is your favorite part of the story? I love the 7 little dwarfs. They were such good friends to Snow White. Thank you for watching this long story today. You did such a wonderful job being a good listener. I'll see you very soon for our next big story adventure. Goodbye, friends. Have a magical, beautiful day.